Kanyakumari, we find everywhere a number of custodial deaths. Recently, we have seen the custodial death in Tamil Nadu and in Bangalore also. So there is no a mechanism. There is no specific codification under the uh, our penal laws that if a public servants or a police who involved in the criminal offences, they are being charged with certain offences. So this is a one area where we have to seriously see that the criminal justice system is not effectively addressing the issues which they are ought to address it. In the same way, for example, the offences against the atrocities against the Dalits, scheduled caste, there are a number of offences have been unreported. In fact, in India, I want to practically register a crime. To register a crime, if a victim is being subjected to any atrocity, ordinarily the police will not register the offences. And there is no such a mechanism to see that if a crime is not registered, the public servant who is mandated under the law to immediately act to register the crime to be taken into task. There is no such a law. So today, to get a register a crime, the victim have to struggle a lot. He has to go for a protest, and there must be a series of representations to be given to the various authorities. At last, if a crime is registered, then the next step is investigation. The investigation, there is no effective monitoring system to see that an effective and fair investigation is being carried out for the victim of atrocities in this country. So that is the reason 90% of the offences against the victims of atrocities, victims of Dalits, their cases were end up in acquittal. This is the case. This is an issue where this is happening with the state executive, like police and monitoring authorities are not effectively working to see that the investigations were done properly or not, FIRs are registered properly or not. When it comes to the court, the same fate is being given to the victims of atrocities. There is no proper addressing to their issues in the court of law. Because in spite of there is an amendment to the act that the exclusive court should function for the SCST Prevention of Atrocities Act, but there is no exclusive courts are being functioning in this. Particularly, I think not only in Telangana or in Andhra Pradesh, maybe across the country, the general courts, they have been like designated but not exclusively functioning. The criminal justice system, why we more talk about that, unless this justice is reached to the poorest of poor, the victims, because the majority of the victims are the accused who are from the marginalized sections, this is not being reached to the people, then the effective justice system is required to be replaced by a proper and effective amendments. Now, my point, the next aspect, it comes to the gender women. Women, so far as the women, even it is very unfortunate that even from the higher judiciary to the trial court, they have given an impression in at large by giving certain judgments that the 498A, like harassment to women is being such laws, women laws are being misused. This is what even the higher judiciary judges are started openly commenting and writing the judgments, and ultimately today the atrocities or brutalities committed against the women, now those offenses have been reduced to the bailable offenses. This is also one of the drawbacks which we have to see from the criminal justice system angle. So now the major activity to protect the victim or to protect the rights of the accused plays in the hands of the police and judiciary. Now, how the functioning is practically, we have to see it. This functioning, when you see, we have to see from the nature of the state, because normally speaking in a formal way does not we get a comprehensive idea, because practically we have to see the nature of the state, how the functioning is, how the authorities are functioning, how they are sensitive towards the marginalized or poorest of the poorest in this society. I'll tell you, for example, if you take emphatically certain case laws or certain issues from the tribals from the central India, even this, in the central India, like for example in Chhattisgarh, you know, most of the tribals, they are languishing in the jail on the charges of sedition or waging a war against the state. And these poor tribals, even in the courts, there are no translators to the judges. This is the biggest problem, to keep the tribal prisoners in the jail for years together without trial, without there being any speedy trial. There is no bails are being denied to them. Nowadays, the repressive laws are being used against these tribals, and they have been jailed without the bail. This is what is happening. We have many empirical examples where NIA, National Investigation Agency, has a number of I can give a number of examples where this NIA is acting in a very draconian way, anti-tribal, and people are kept behind the bars without bail, without speedy trial, without giving them any equality defense. This is what is happening. When the tribals, even they don't, because the Malimat Committee, I'll come to the Malimat Committee, where the accused should be given an access to the law. They should understand in their language. They should know the law. They should understand exactly the sense of the law. Today, how many people in this country know English? Only, I think only 10% of the population, that too urban population, knows English. And these 10% of population, out of 10% probably very people who are academicians or the lawyers knows the law, but rest of the people doesn't know what is the law, how it has been codified, defined. So today, the criminal justice system is so biased, and it is not effectively being dispensed with the justice to the Dalits and to the tribals and to the women and most marginalized section in the society. So I wanted to tell some of the issues which are even today it has not been addressed. For example, Malimat Committee has constituted in 2003. We all know very well. This Malimat Committee has recommended 158 recommendations. This 158, because before I say about the Malimat Committee, the Code of Criminal Procedure Code, particularly, or Indian Evidence Act, these two, because the substantial law and procedural law too, unless we have a very silent futures, unless we have a very well-defined pro-protective rights, that particular law cannot be effectively implemented. So that is the reason the Code of Criminal Procedure Code is nothing but bundle of rights. We call the rights are engrafted in the Code of Criminal Procedure Code. Like for example, accused cannot be kept behind the 24 hours in the police custody. Likewise, every time, once in 14 days, accused has to be produced before the court. Now in a pandemic period, now the accused are not being produced before the court. It is the biggest hardship to an accused. So such things which are being brought to the notice of the Malimat Committee. And the Malimat Committee has recommended 158 recommendations. These recommendations basically this in favor of accused as well to the victims, because for the first time the Malimat Committee, after examining the empirically taking various depositions and interviews from various academicians and also retired judges and the research papers, and they have brought into existence inquisitorial system, where even the judicial magistrate supervises the investigation. And another important aspect is the magistrate can summon anybody as a witness. This is one of the silent features which the Malimat Committee has recommended. And the second important recommendation which the Malimat Committee has made is the right to silence. There is a modification to that, because you all know that Article 20, subclause 3 of the Constitution of India, where accused has a right to silence. He cannot be a witness to his own incriminating material. So this modification was brought that an accused, suppose if a magistrate asks a reasonable question, where if an accused is failed to answer, then he can draw an adverse opinion against the accused. So the next another aspect is rights of an accused was drawn. And number three, when we see that presumption of innocence, this presumption of innocence is one of the golden rule, the silent future of our entire criminal justice system. One thing what we have to see here is because the presumption of innocence in the Code of Criminal Procedure Code has drawn long back. Now, by virtue of these repressive laws, today, the in a decade ago onwards, we have seen some judgments of the Supreme Court and also certain legislations, the draconian legislations which have been brought, they are reversing the presumption of innocence. If you take, for example, UAPA Act or NDPS Act, under UAPA Act, Unlawful Assembly Prevention Act, the presumption of innocence is now has been reversed, that the accused have to prove his innocence. So such presumptions have been reversed, which is against the criminal justice system. And next, justice to the victim of crime is also being drawn in the Malimat Committee. Likewise, the police investigation. For example, police investigation, now biggest challenge in this country today, my friends, what I would like to say is that you might have seen that in the name of investigation, during the investigation, the modus operandi of the police, you might have seen the recent incident of a doctor being gang rape case where 4 alleged accused were taken into from the judicial custody, and they have filed an application that we needed them into the judicial custody to trace out, to discover the weapon. In the name of discovery of weapon, in reconstruction of the evidence, the 4 youth accused were taken and they were shot dead. And they have said that this is a case of alleged an exchange of fire. And a recent incident like Dubey, where in Uttar Pradesh we have seen it. So what I say is that the criminal justice system must be very fair, and it should apply in a form of a rule of law. Now there is now what happened in that 4 accused, in fact, they have to face the trial. They have to face the charges. There is no charges against them, and there is no chance of defense. There is no trial, and the police killed them in an alleged encounter, and they say then exchange of fire. If an ordinary citizen commits a small crime, a minor crime, they are being charged. If he is a public servant, he is being suspended. Now here is a case where 4 accused who are below age of 21, some of them are even in a minor stage, they were killed. But what type of an FIR has been registered? You know, the FIR is registered against the dead persons. The FIR speaks about that as if the deceased made an attempt to kill the police, and in self-defense, they used the force. The four accused below the age of 4 years, they were arrested 10 days before, and they were kept in their custody. During the custody, nothing was seized from them, and they have not used any weapon which is used for the offense. And and after 10 days, and that too, there was a serious outcry in entire state of Telangana, not only in Telangana but entire country, and there was a sufficient escort, and they were taken in an escort. And how could, if below 21 years old accused, and that too, they never had a well-trained with any weapons, and they were never before in any crime, they snatched from the police officer a weapon, and how could they fire? So these are the issues where our Indian criminal justice system does not address at all. Neither the Vora committee address nor the Malimat committee address. nor even the Supreme Court doesn't. Very unfortunate of this criminal justice system today is that even today's Supreme Court is silent on such a brutal fake encounters. When an ordinary citizen participates in a commission of culpable homicide, you immediately register 302 IPC and you arrest them and send him to the judicial remand. But when public servant commits an offense, when there is a serious outcry, when a public interest law petitions files, at most you constitute a committee or you constitute some commission, one-man commission or two-man commission. And these commissions are given extended time to time they have been extended. There is no FIR. So now the issue in this country is that if we need a criminal justice system which is followed by the rule of law, which is foundation of which, if it is on the foundation of justice, then even whoever participates in the crime, they are bound to face the law. Today, that Article 14, there is an Article 14 violation is there. Discrimination of law. When a privileged people commits a crime, there is the FIR would be registered in a different way. That is how. Now, when, for example, if you come to the for example, there was a serious debate is now today is going on, because this is the right time to share my views with the academicians, that now the Ministry of Home Affairs has constituted a committee which to reform the entire criminal law, because our criminal law is nothing but a colonial foundation of our criminal law. So for a smoothly functioning of legal system, our freedom to live authentic life and a full citizen in a democratic polity is very, very important. So the maladministration of criminal justice system shapes the entire country in a very wrong direction. I want to tell you for one example on this. We talk about the most organic document, Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is such an organic document, which is not the basic fundamental rights are engrafted not by the wishes or by the law of the people, by the rulers. It is all the aspiration of the peoples. The aspirations have been codified into the law. Now, Article 20, the basic fundamental rights, for example, you see the Article 19 or Article 21. Article 19, freedom of speech and expression. There are golden 7 rules, which 7 subclauses are there: freedom of expression, freedom of speech, now freedom of association. Now, with one stroke, my friend, with one stroke, the basic fundamental rights can be taken up by one subdivisional magistrate by imposing 144 section. You know, number of cases today being registered under 151 of IPC, preventive arrests, where if there is a political dissent, if I want to participate in a public meeting where I want to express my feelings, resistance against the certain policies which are being brought, I wanted to campaign against them, then 151 is being used across the country by the police. Preventive arrest. Before I reach that public meeting or public place, I've been arrested. So such sections have to be immediately, we have to put to end to such section of law. So another important aspect which now we have to see is that by now the recent committee which has now been constituted, it's about to come, the campaign, we have to see that the majoritarian academicians or from various walks of the life, intellectuals are not being involved in this. This is one of the major drawbacks which we have to see in the committee, because now this committee, now the recent committee which is constituted is only Delhi based. 5 academicians, one is from NLIU and other is from one lawyer and 3 other academicians are being made into the committee, and there is no civil society which because earlier law, there is a practice in India, basically, whether it may be a criminal justice system or any other, if you want to get a law amended or reform or to get a new law, the Law Commission of India is an authentic a body where it will have a systematic study over particular act or a bill which is proposed to get it enacted. Now, these within 6 months, they wanted the all day jobbed five intellectuals. Now they wanted to shape the 200 years old, 150 years old criminal law into a new reform which is practicably not possible, and moreover there is in a committee, because why I talk about this, this is a context where now the Ministry of Human Affairs is now getting very hectically to get a new criminal law, amending entire IPC, not only IPC, Indian Criminal Procedure Code, as well Indian Evidence Act, within 6 months, and that too in a pandemic where there is no deliberations. I don't know whether my learned friend, academicians and teaching faculty, whether they have received any questionnaire or whether they have received any paper on what suggestions to be made, what type of reforms we needed. There is no address about there is no committee members from the scheduled caste, or there is no very unfortunate and surprised that even women is not there. A majority of the population where we have a very serious issues to be addressed on a woman, out of 5 members, there is no woman at all. There is a gender, there is a issue, disabled issues are there, tribal issues are there, and geopolitically, geographically, India is from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. No one is there from the South India, or no one is there from the northeast part of India. This is how now this is a very danger and a very pathetic situation where now they are going to get the reform to replace the entire criminal justice system. So another assumption today is that what is the role is being played to make effective criminal justice system to be prevailed in here, because the major thing is there are higher judiciary which has to play a very, very important, and more particularly Supreme Court. Today, if you see the Supreme Court of India, you all know very well that the situation which now today prevailed. You have seen very recently how the criminal contempt proceedings are being initiated against the Prashant Bhushan, where a freedom of expression, a fair criticism is also now being not tolerated by the Supreme Court. Now, of course, that is now pending to the extent of sentence. So the majority of the cases today in the Supreme Court are taken up. It is not quoted by me. The senior most retired judges have said that 90% of the time of the Supreme Court is taken by a huge multinational companies or big corporates to resolve their issues, to resolve their conflicts, because to resolve their litigation. This is because today, like BCCI, like what other you see many other issues, the Supreme Court now it has become a day-to-day for an ordinary man to. It is not reachable to an ordinary man, the Supreme Court, because justice should be always reachable to an ordinary man. But today what is happening? The justice has become very expensive. You see, though very expensive, very costly affair today has become. Unless you engage a senior most lawyers, like huge, fees to be paid to them, like the top 10, top 15 lawyers who charges not less than 15 to 20 lakhs for one brief. This is what an ordinary man is not imaginable to go to the Supreme Court. That too in a pandemic, an ordinary man cannot file any petition. There are people who are For example, you know all very well that how these migrant laborers were subjected to severe hardship, but the justice is far reach to them. This is the one area where the Supreme Court has to address that. So now, if you see the prisons, today the entire country, the majority prisoners are from the Dalits or from the minorities are languishing in the jail. Their matters were not being taken up. And if the convicted are, their matters are not being, appeals were pending. But there are people, those in some cases, white collar criminals, they immediately get bails. You see, the offenses who have committed against the state, the offenses which are very serious like money laundering or huge money involved scams, they get very easily bails. That is now the system is now. When it comes to an ordinary people like who speaks against the state or who express their dissent against the state, they are being kept in the judicial remand without bail. I want to tell you one of the examples now. The very cardinal principle of the criminal justice system is that the rights of the accused. Accused cannot be kept in jail for prolonged jail. A right to bail is a rule. Right to bail is a rule, and right to bail is a rule. And keeping him in jail is an exception where even like Justice Krishnaiyer has delivered a judgment. But today, this is a time of a reference which I want to tell you that, for example, in a Bhima Koregaon case, there are more than 10 to 10 intellectuals who are being in judicial remand for more than 2 years. If there is any allegations, what I wanted to tell very particularly that if you want to make any allegations, you register an FIR, file a charge sheet, but you cannot prevent him from the defense to have a free trial. Free trial means a pre-trial bail is necessitated. Today, the bail has become very exception. But when it comes to a white-collar criminals, their bail is very general. It has become, they are all bail and their cases are coming up for trial. So this discrimination we have to understand across the country. The politics of the state is a very, very important to which side, because in a democratic country where the state has come into existence to resolve the conflicts within the society and to keep the balance between the haves and have-nots, have to play a role, because Indian Constitution speaks about the welfare state. Welfare state means the state which should stood on behalf of the victims, on behalf of the poorest of poor section. Today, but if you go to the tribal area, thousands of people are languishing in the jail without the bail. So there you don't find any criminal justice system. And when it comes to the point, for example, I wanted to tell when an instance like extrajudicial killings are taking place. In extrajudicial killings, the criminal justice system is totally silent, because in extrajudicial killings, there are if no FIR is registered against the perpetrators, there is no FIR at all, and no FIR. And there is no inquest as per the law, because inquest has to be conducted in the place where the death had taken place. There is no inquest is being conducted. There is no panchnama is being conducted. There is no proper forensic post-mortem reports are being conducted. And the institutions which have to play a very important role in administration of criminal justice system, like police, like doctors, like judicial magistrates, like executive magistrates, and like they are all silent on these aspects. Unless the perpetrators, because the state is mandated to implement the law in a very due process way, in accordance with law. And today, even the high courts and Supreme Courts are very silent on this. When there is a naked, brutal, violent violation of law, criminal law, the courts are keeping silent. And when an ordinary man, an ordinary citizen commits a crime, they wanted to bounce on him, and with a mounted pressure, they wanted to implement the law. We are not saying that you shouldn't implement, but When it comes, you should follow the due process of law. A fair play should be there. So that is not is happening. For example, the biggest threat today to the administration of criminal justice system is, my friends, if you closely watch some of the incidents, and if you collect the material, for example, most of the accused who are from the downtrodden, who are from the very poorest section, they are taken into police custody, interrogated for the days together, and finally, after third degree torture, brought before the magistrate at the last moment, and the accused, even he couldn't stand there. Now, what is the role of a magistrate is very, very important. The magistrate in fact, the law says the magistrate should speak to the accused who is brought before him. The magistrates are not speaking. Even if speak, they won't ask about him, what has happened to his health. Even if a magistrate sees openly what has happened in Tamil Nadu, if his dress is torn, blood is oozing, even the magistrates are silent. And he was immediately sent to the prison. The prison authorities, they won't do any checkup. Even the National Human Rights Commission has laid down certain specific questionnaire. They keep set aside, and immediately they were sent into the judicial custody, judicial remand. And after going into the prison, these under trial prison doesn't get any medical treatment. There is no treatment for them. And ultimately, they die in the prison. They immediately, the moment they die in the prison, they shift to the hospital. They say that it is due to the heart attack or due to some other reason, they died. So the law mandates, the criminal justice system mandates on the judicial magistrates to have a thorough checkup, a body checkup, and a questionnaire on the accused when he was brought before him. And when there is a judicial custody, the judicial under 176 subclause 2 of Code of Criminal Procedure Code, it empowers, it mandates on the judicial magistrate to conduct a judicial inquiry. But you see, you take out some incidents, there is no judicial inquiry in anywhere in the where if a person dies in the police custody. Now they have the new theory has been brought by the police that if any person dies in the police custody, they are immediately shifted to the hospital, or they have thrown somewhere and say that no, he didn't die in the police custody, but somewhere in the hospital died. Therefore, it doesn't fall under the definition of the police custody. In fact, the Supreme Court has said about in Nilabata Behera case, where even if a person is last seen in the police custody and died even out of the police station also, it amounts, the last seen theory should be taken into consideration. So the major part of administration of criminal justice, when it comes to the perpetrators of the public servants from the state executive, the entire criminal law is silent. And when it comes to the high courts or Supreme Courts, they know very well that the law is silent, and there are a lot of gaps in this. And they can, for example, the torture bill, where in Bablu versus State of NCT, in this case, the Supreme Court has recommended the Law Commission to pass a bill on the torture bill. Now the governments are busy in amending the laws in where the people wanted to have a very comprehensive debate. They are not doing in that. But when it comes to like a wrongful prosecution of Miscarriage of Justice Act 2018, this act is a very, very important act. This bill is till today has not been passed. Wrongful prosecution, Miscarriage of Justice 2018 bill was prepared. This draft bill is not yet been brought to the in the shape of act. And number two, another important bill which is we all have to demand a urgent need to pass act, that is that prevention of torture bill. This torture bill is pending since 2017. And these governments are not serious on this bill. Because you see, one important aspect which we have to see, because whenever we file a public interest law petitions in the high courts or Supreme Court, in one of the cases where I personally appeared in the Supreme Court in case where a 22 Adivasi tribals were shot dead with a close range in Sukma district, and they say that this is all our Maoists, and therefore in exchange of for they died. And in fact, as a civil rights activist, we have all gone for the fact finding. And what we were surprised to see after their depositions and after we met with the eyewitness, most of them in that there are some panchayat secretaries are there, sarpanch is there, and women is there, minors are there. There is an eyewitness said that they were all killed before them while they were watching, while they were requesting not to kill. And such a cases, I personally appeared in the Supreme Court in this case. And when I was arguing in the court, of course, Deepak Mishra was the Chief Justice, and the Attorney General who is appearing on behalf of Chhattisgarh, what he takes the defense is that, my lord, if you pass any order, if this court pass any order against the paramilitary forces, they will demoralize, they won't do their job. This is what indirectly they are bringing a pressure on the judiciary, on the courts, that no, you are not supposed to pass any order. If you pass, we can't work out. So immediately the court has not inclined to pass any order. You say the crime is registered in 2018. Till today, no FIR, no investigation. So we have to locate where really criminal justice system to be effectively implemented. In an urban area where, in a civil society where the people have a voice, who can at least, they can go to some extent. If a sub-inspector has not registered an FIR, we approach a lawyer and then we'll file a complaint before the SP, not then we'll go to High Court. This is a big process even for a middle-class man. Approaching the High Court is an expense even today. He has to spend at least a minimum 10 to 15,000 rupees to register one first-step information report. In spite, there is a judgment of the Supreme Court in Lalita Kumari. In a Lalita Kumari judgment, everyone, we have to read that when there is if a complaint is a cognizable offense, the police cannot think over it. The police cannot have an inquiry. They cannot have their own inquiry without registration of the crime. But the very unfortunate thing is, the more review of the judgments of its own, Supreme Court never judgments. So this is a situation which is prevailed. Supreme Court passes certain judgments, but there is no mechanism in this country to review its own judgments. So we have seen the DK Basu judgment, for example. It all entirely it speaks about the criminal law, judicial custody, judicial violence, police torture. But this judgment has come into existence since 1997 till today. More than 2,000 people, more than 1,000 people have died, and thousands were subjected to torture. But there is no police officers are facing the trial. When there is no FIR, there is no question of investigation. When there is no investigation, there is no question of trial. So this is what is happening. When it comes to the women, also the same situation now it is prevailed. That is the reason I said that even for the criminal justice system is biased towards the women also. Because why bias? In the sense is, majority of the judges are male judges today in the higher judiciary or in the Supreme Court. So their orientation is it all from the male orientation. They look into the issues. So ultimately, what happened today? The biggest tragedy to criminal justice system is that 498A, most of the women they put the complaints as a false complaints, and therefore ultimately even the Malimat committee has suggested that 498A has to be made as a bailable offense. And we see today what is the fate in the domestic violence cases in the courts. They are after the courts in a queue for hundreds. The litigation is pending for years together. Criminal cases are pending for years together. Now, because this has made bailable, now the trials are pending a long ago. So in this context, what I would like to say is that this is a context where we have to now the Union of India under the head of Ministry of Home Affairs, they wanted to uh, have an entire criminal justice system, criminal law to be reformed, and this reform definitely we have to come out of from the colonial laws. The colonial laws were designed according to their situation and mostly to suppress the freedom movements. Unfortunately, after Indian freedom struggle, there are even till today almost 90% of the repressive laws are continuing. For example, I'll tell you the Rowlatt Act. The Rowlatt Act was came into existence to suppress the freedom struggle and they to ban the organizations. To ban the organizations they were brought. Similarly, it was designed in a post-independence. The Rowlatt Act has been brought the same features in TADA. And when there was a serious resistance and outcry from the civil society, TADA was repealed, saying that TADA is being misused by the state executive, particularly police. Then after TADA has gone, again the another government came and they brought POTA, 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 Prevention of Terrorism Organization. And subsequently, after UAPA came into power, now every civil society, when there is a misuse of repressive laws, there is an outcry. Therefore, they wanted to have a permanent act. Permanently, they wanted to imbibe into a particular futures into in an act. That is how this UAPA Act belongs to 1967. This under this act now, these draconian provisions have been incorporated. This is totally against the criminal justice system because the justice is a coin where a rule of law has to be applied equally to everyone, whoever comes for the dispense of the justice. That is not a this structure of oppression. This structure of oppression should be well addressed by the criminal justice system. That is not being addressed in the present context which is happening. So therefore, the present criminal justice system where it has to address the subaltern castes and the gender and sexual and also religious groups. These were not addressed in this system. We need all to be addressed in the particular context. Otherwise, this justice system, the people will lose the faith. Already now the people, there is a serious outcry, or there is a serious what we call the resistance from the people that this justice system is being suited to the particular section of the people, not to the entire country where different people are across the country are facing the problems. So, my friends, finally, now I wanted to place finally one aspect which is a very, very important, where today even the Supreme Court or even the various high courts, we are now lacking very behind in having very authority on the criminal law in the various courts, because that is the reason. If you take, for example, in our High Court of Telangana, the appeals are pending since 2014. Those who are convicted, I want to say that those who are convicted under life imprisonment in 2014 in lower courts, in the district court, trial courts, to reach their appeal. This is one of the important aspects which today we have to address to the prisoners, because the criminal justice system, one of the important institutions which has to play a vital role is prisons finally, because police, after investigation, they place the accused before the courts. After court address whether he's a guilty or innocent, once if he's guilty, he goes to the prison. There, now in the prison, the conditions of the prisoners are very, very pathetic and deplorable. The reforms which are required to take place in the prisons are not been suited perfectly, because the appeals are pending since 2014. Now they have been awaited for their to be heard their appeals. So what is happening after 5 years? If a judge takes up their appeal and says that no, the trial court has convicted you in a wrong presumption on wrong premises, then therefore they set aside. There is no remedy. There is no remedy for once he is 5-6 years after spending in the prison, coming out of the prison. Ultimately, his age and his life, and he is away from the family, and coming out of, there is no compensation. There is no compensation, because a wrongly prosecuting a person and convicting him, and when once if it founds that he is an innocent, the state is bound to pay him a compensation. That justice system is not prevailing. Now in entire prisons, what we see once in a week, like in 15th August or like in 26th January, some celebration takes in the prisons, but practically, if possible, I request my colleagues, my academicians, you please visit the prisons. In the prisons, there is no proper amenities or facilities. Even now, in a pandemic period, now the situation, now there is a very, very danger to their lives. Some of them were recently in Warangal, in other states, the prisoners, they are affected by the COVID, and they have lost their lives. And we talk about these challenges, because finally I have to say about the challenges, this pandemic challenges and the criminal justice system. And so far as this period, which it started lockdown from March 23rd, I think from the March 23rd, even the judiciary, higher judiciary, and also the trial courts are totally shut down, and almost all are started virtual courts. These virtual courts are not real courts. What I mean to say is that they are not really addressing the issues. You see, when it comes to their bails, right to bail is a basic fundamental right. Now, because of this pandemic, the bails are not being heard, and then the accused are not being produced before the courts once in a 15 days. This is another violation. And we all know very well that video conferences are not absolutely, it gives a satisfaction, or it will check the atrocities or brutalities or any irregularities committed by the state executive. When they were brought before the video conference, things would be entirely different when he is produced before physically in the court. So now, since March 23rd, the prisoners are blocked. They have no access to their families. They have no access at all. You see, one day if we have no access to our family members, we feel how so desperate. Today, prisoners have no access to their family members. Neither the family members have the access to the prisoners. They cannot go to the jails, and they cannot have a mulaqat. And we know recently they said that we are giving an opportunity of video calls. How many prisoners' families, they have an internet? So this is how the pandemic situation is also adverse to the criminal justice system, and very sensitive matters like criminal cases, trials are being now halt. There are no trials at all, and moreover, the bails are not being granted. And in this situation, this is all our challenges to the entire the institutions, the democratic institutions, because ultimately the institutions which have today talking about the protection and preservation of rights and implementation of laws, they are totally taking an advantage of this pandemic. And whenever there is any talk about, there is any issue of the rights of accused, of rights of like a bail, the authorities says that the forensic laboratories are subjected to pandemic. There are certain COVID cases. Therefore, the authorities were locked up and there is no bail. Therefore, we couldn't get any reports. Everywhere in this way, the things are happening. So my submission, my what I would like to say is that this pandemic situation is now more conveniently taken into their interest by the state executives rather than implementing in favor of the victims. So today, you can see during this COVID period, there are number of criminal cases were registered. These criminal cases were registered against the innocent people who have violated the law, like 144 section, and they are being beaten up, brutally beaten up. There are some of them have received serious injuries, but no FIRs were registered against those who have perpetrated. So in this light, what somehow we cannot give a complete justice. What I mean to say is that it's not practically possible in COVID-19 at this juncture to give a complete justice to the criminal justice system or victims of accused or victims of atrocities. Finally, I want to focus on one act, which is a very, very important act. This act, you know, even the 90% of the judges or the lawyers who are lawyers, corporate lawyers, or a majority of the lawyers, they might have not even seen. That is that SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act. This act came into existence in 1989. Once if you see this act after serious massacres against Dalits, for example, if you take example in Chundur, Karamchedu, and various atrocities across the country, and then this act came into existence. Now, this act has certain protective and preventive, preservative sections or laws which are incorporated under this act. Even these acts, this act is basically meant to protect the victim of atrocity, now very systematically, even from the higher judiciary or from the Supreme Court, or they have diluted the act. Because there are certain protections given that the anticipatory bail application cannot be entertained. It's a bar of anticipatory bail application. And the reasons were also given. So this was challenged in 1980s before the Supreme Court that this is against the violation of Article 21. But the Supreme Court has given a very sound reasoning that no, we have to understand the structure of the Indian society. How the Dalits were subjected to atrocities, because this is the only offenses committed. For example, you take Karamchedu crimes, massacre, or Chundur. These offenses happened only on the basis of the caste. Because I born in a downtrodden, because I born in a Dalit community, I have brutally murdered, not for any money or for any property. We have seen the offenses are committed for the property, but here I raised my head. I sat along with them on a same chair in a cinema theater. Was a reason to brutally kill us in Chundur. Because I started reading a newspaper along with the upper caste, dominant caste in Karamchedu, I was brutally killed. My bodies were mutilated and thrown into the Tungabhadra river. Such an offenses, then this act came, no. When the perpetrators are from the dominant caste, if a bail is given in like any other bail, then the victims may not be protected. Today we have seen, like in many cases reported, like in Anantapur, where people are unable to come forward to lodge the complaint. But ultimately what recently the Supreme Court has said that, no, the FIRs cannot be simply registered. In the cases of SC/ST, there must be a preliminary inquiry is required. And this, the Supreme Court has, because I want to tell you one thing, in 1990s, in early 1996, one superintendent of police was there. He was Anjaneyulu, I think so. He was superintendent of Kadapa. He passed one circular saying that no sub-inspector or sub-divisional police officer should not register any case under SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act without his permission. Now, the Supreme Court recently passing a judgment. It has shown that the Supreme Court has reduced into a superintendent of police office level, because a registration of FIR, there need not be any in-camera proceedings are not required. Interdisciplinary proceedings and preliminary inquiry is not required. So this is how systematically act is not being diluted, and the majority, today atrocities are being increased, and there is a downfall of conviction cases, not because of victims, but because of failure in fair investigation. Now, recent development in new offenses are being now coming up, which are very heinous offenses like lynching. We have to address these issues like lynching, and you see honor killings. You know very well the honor killings are now increasing now in Tamil Nadu. If you see, for example, in Telangana, Pranay Amruta case, or Kamalamma cases, there Sushruta Dhanarsh, like in Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh. These are also we have to effectively address in the criminal justice system. We have to codify and systematically we have to bring this because there is no proper there is no such an issue is being framed so far as the proposed criminal law amendment, criminal reforms committee talking about the lynching, talking about the addressing about what we call it's about the honor killings. So, my friends, finally, this is a context where we all have to go see. We have to see in the website where now Ministry of Human Affairs has placed in their website. They wanted to methodology of getting reform of not only one code, because to form a one code it took 10 decades. But now Ministry of Human Affairs under the leadership of Amit Shah, they wanted to submit the report within 6 months. That too, all the 5-member committee members are day job holders. That too, in a pandemic period, we have to seriously go into this, and ultimately we need a criminal justice system which address all the section of the society, like women, Dalits, tribals, and transgenders, and disabled, and everyone should be a part. It should be an inclusive, not exclude. Inclusively, there must be a democratic space for a debate on every aspect and because that is the reason the legacy of the Law Commission. We appreciate that whenever they wanted to get any new law, there would be a serious debate. They invite the papers from, like you all academicians, from the professors who are working in respective fields. That is today is lacking. That is a very dangerous trend which is now coming up, and we all have to address to that, and we have to see that a democratically and very, very justice-based new criminal reforms should come. Absolutely, colonial law should go, but we also need a laws which should respect the democratic space, which should respect the dissent, and the criminalization of politics should be stopped, and the criminalization of dissent should be stopped. In that way, we should all go with this. I hope in this way, we all should work together. And this, I stop my further saying.
Very nice presentation, sir, covering all the aspects of criminal justice system and also particularly the area in which you are practicing, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, bail is the rule, but jail is an exception. However, lower courts are not following this maxim, even though they are having inherent power. Please explain.
Yeah, you're right, because what is happening, though the Supreme Court or even the laws speaks about that pre-trial bail is essential for a fair trial. By why this is happening is why today practically lower courts or even the district courts are, even the high courts, even the high courts are not granting bails. There is in a federal system, the judiciary and executive should work independently. Because of this repressive laws, now the state is co-opting the judiciary. There is a regular meetings with the district judges by the police officers, and they are sitting together and reviewing themselves and say that these are the cases where if a bail is given, it is a difficult. So earlier, this was not this. There was a separation of powers. Federal structure was strictly followed. Now that is not. That is lacking today. That is the reason the bails are becoming very, very difficult today, because today the judges are more relying on the version of the public prosecutor than the defense lawyer. But the law says that both are equally, they have to present. The court cannot take either side. This can only be reversed again, that the bail is a rule, jail is an exception, can only be done when there is a civil society starts questioning the accountability and transparency of the judiciary. You say that is the reason I want to tell you the best judgments of the Supreme Court came into existence only when there was a serious movement from the civil society. Civil society includes the intellectuals, academicians, and also various walks of the life. Then we get a very good judgment. If people or academicians are not active, if there is no good articles from the academicians in the media or in the social media, then the judiciary works in the same way. So there is slowly what is happening, this repressive laws, the tendency of the repressive laws is that they take over the rights, even they limit the power of the judiciary. Because, for example, I'll say, under UAPA Act, there is a section called 43D. When I am arguing one case of NIA, the accused name is Mr. Madileti, who is the president of Telangana Vidyarthi Vedika. He was arrested, he is in judicial remand. And against him, the allegation is that he possessed 2 letters from CPA Maoist leader. Possessing 2 letters, you cannot keep in a jail for more than 5 months. And this 43D UAPA says that judges cannot grant bail and judges cannot use their discretionary power. So this is how the state executive is, by way of these repressive laws, they are dominating the independent structure of the state. This is how is happening even today. Most of the cases, when it comes to lynchings or when it comes to the atrocities against the minorities or Dalits, they are very flexible. Very flexible. We have to understand this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Next question, sir. Should all the laws of colonial time be replaced with new laws?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, colonial laws, majority, we talk about the majority of the colonial laws were drafted in such a fashion that it suits to the administrators. It suits to suppress the movements. It suits to control the judiciary. To control the judiciary. That is the reason I'll tell you, for example, in Bhagat Singh case, Bhagat Singh case, in those days, they have passed one GO. The government has passed certain ordinance, and with that ordinance, they have constituted a judges, and immediately it has gone for the conviction, death sentence. This is what is now framing. Now today, the NIA is working in the same way. You just register an FIR, no bail, and charge sheet file and conviction. That's all. This we should stop it all. These all are the legacy of colonial law. All the repressive laws or laws which are anti-people, that should be immediately scrapped, and we should have a new laws.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Next question, sir. Criminal justice is delayed in most of the criminal cases. How far we can bring changes or amendments to CRPC to speed up trial and pre-trial procedure?
So practically, Code of Criminal Procedure Code, or even a Code of Criminal Procedure Code, there is a provisions of expedient trial. Speedy trial, even the Supreme Court said in number of judgments. But the point is, everything, it is all on the paper. When it comes to the courts, there is the number of recruitment or the judges population is very less. The recruitment is very low, and today the Supreme Court's perception of delay in trial is now putting burden on the on the people or on the other institutions, but this is due to the serious dereliction of duties by the police, by the investigation authorities. This is not being addressed by anyone. Why today there is a delay in trial? Because there is a delay in investigation. And there is, the law is very clear that if there is any dereliction of duties, the negligence on the part of the duties, there must be an immediate departmental action. Show me in this country, is there any judge who has, when the mandated law, they have to do immediate investigation? For example, in SCST Prevention of Atrocities Act, the investigation shall be completed within 30 days and they have to file a report. Police officers are doing, and when these are addressed to the higher judiciary, they are silent. There must be a serious commitment for the higher judiciary or for the district judges that if there is any dereliction or negligence on the part of the state executive, they must take an action, then everything will be set right.
Hello, sir. Would you consider misuse of legal provisions in Nirbhaya rape and murder case and the Hyderabad rape case are two extremes of our criminal justice system?
No, you see, so far as practically speaking, Nirbhaya amendment, after amendment of Nirbhaya, this section of laws which are incorporated in Indian Penal Code or Criminal Procedure Code are not effectively implemented. It is all in the act. You know, I want to tell you that if Nirbhaya Act, atrocities against the women is effectively implemented, the major incidents could be stopped. Now, what is happening? The state executive or the state, the police or the state, what they firmly believe that whenever there are a sensational issues takes place, just to satisfy the civil society, to see that some instant justice could be done, so that just finish them, protect that they are on behalf of the victims. This instant justice system is absolutely, we have to stop this. But the Supreme Court is also silent on this area. The criminal justice system has to be, foundation is that the state executive has to effectively implement. That is not being done. We have to put pressure on the state executive. And killing the accused or perpetrators, what we say that the law, if this being the case, then the judiciary, everything can be decided by the police. Everything will be decided. This is like General Raj, eye to eye, and even another debate is there. If you followed in case of this doctor rapes encounter case, because these four accused belongs to the downtrodden community, they were shot dead. That debate is also there because they are all belongs to the marginalized, they were killed. So this instant killing we have to discourage. We have to say that there must be an effective criminal justice system by implementing a fair trial, give them an opportunity, and then go ahead with the other procedures.
Even after Honorable Supreme Court had struck down Section 66A of IT Act, even now people are getting arrested on the charges of posting some messages on the social media. How can it be justified, sir?
No, it cannot be justified. It is absolutely against the freedom of speech and expression. This is absolutely a police discretion, arbitrary discretion. If someone speaks about Chief Minister, they are putting an FIR and are being arrested. Recently, 2 journalists were sent to judicial remand also. They said that the COVID is not effectively tackled, and it was put it on the Facebook or somewhere. There must be some integrity in the higher police officials, which they have to see. When the Supreme Court has passed, the Supreme Court judgment is law of the land. The law of the land, who has to respect? Today, it has become a reverse. Those who have to implement the law, they are not respecting, but they are expecting from the citizens to respect the law. How could it? This is a very tragedy. You say the state executive will say as that you should not violate. I want to say one thing. Citizen has a right to violate the law. For example, if a police impose 144 section, I have a right to violate, and I go to the public meeting and I can face the subject to, I face the law. But the police have no that option. They cannot violate the law because they are the public servant. So this has become a reverse. Now Supreme Court laid down the law. Who are violating? The police. State is law violating. So that is that we have to seriously oppose such sort of registration of claims. Many innocents were being booked. Even some were sent to the judicial remand. I want to say all these Section 66 IT cases, Arnish Kumar judgment will come into picture. This Arnish Kumar judgment speaks about whoever commits a crime of below 7 years of punishment. They are all entitled 41A notice, because 41 notice in a simple language that they can be given a bail, station bail. Simply notice to be given to them, and after filing charge sheet, they can come to the court. Even in such cases also, they are not doing it. They were being sent to the judicial remand. So the laws, Arnish Kumar judgments, and these encounter killings, these custodial deaths, and custodial tortures, all these are being not committed by an ordinary citizens, by the state executive they are committing. This comes into the major offenses.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, next question, sir. Respected sir, in doctor's case, the case which you are referring, sir, according to the analysis, 4 accused are unjustly killed according to you. My question, the question of the participant is, as to the victim's death, that is the doctor's death.
Definitely, you see, one thing I want to say, victim, you see, the Code of Criminal Procedure is a bundle of rights, the rights which are to protect the accused as well victims. I'm not saying that victim should be given justice, but not in this way. The real justice could have given to the victim who was brutally raped and killed is by conducting a fair trial. By fair trial, because today, because of no fair trial, who has committed the crime, who has not committed a crime, nobody knows. Except police, whatever they decide, that is not a final. Then in a democratic system, we can shut down the judiciary. Why we need courts? Why we need lawyers, different lawyers? It is all unnecessary time. No, if there is any rape, just you hand over to that accused, police will shot dead. Theft is there, then just you hand over, he will just he remove his hand or something like that. Medieval law will be prevailed. Today, the real justice, the genuine justice, we couldn't give to the doctor who is a victim of a brutal crime.
Nowadays, most of the verdicts in honorable courts have become biased. Will there be a change in the impeachment process of the judges in the upcoming reforms?
You say the impeachment only comes when a strong democratic parliamentary democracy, when a strong democratic parliamentary democracy with the principles of socialist, secular, democratic. This is the foundation of our Indian Constitution. That is the reason in the beginning I said that Indian Constitution is not a mere document, it is an organic document. It is not only an organic document, but it is an aspiration of peoples are there. That is the reason if you read the freedom, fundamental rights or directive principles of state policy, they are all aspirations. They fought for freedom for what? For a better life, for equality, for large distribution of wealth. Today, 10% of, today only 2% of population is having a concentration of entire wealth of this country. Today, India is ruled by the capital by 10 corporate companies like Tata, like Ambani, like these 10 companies are running the entire economy. This is not the aspiration of our Indian freedom struggle. The directive principles of state policy, Article 36, if you see, there must be a vast distribution of wealth. Where is the distribution? The recent reports, you will see that. So therefore, what I mean to say is that the commitment to the government is very, very essential. If there is no commitment to have a very healthy judiciary, you know very well what happened recently. The serious charges against Justice Ranjan Gogoi, the retired Chief Justice of Supreme Court, where he faced a serious charges of outraging modesty, and attempt of rape by his office woman, and he himself sat and decided the case that no need to go further. And now the present government made him a Rajya Sabha member. So where is the integrity is very important. If you don't have an integrity with the government to have a very very strong independent judiciary, we can't expect impeachment. We will see more and more Gogois, we will see more and more Deepak Mishras in the coming days.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sorry, sir. I did not know that you continue. Please, sir, you can continue.
No, a few months before, senior most 4 judges of the Supreme Court came out and organized a press meet. And they said that Indian judiciary, Indian democracy is in danger. Now we can't do anything. The roster system is arbitrarily given. That the politicians are totally dominating. So therefore, you save this judiciary. This is what they have, in a simple way, you save the judiciary. This is how they have addressed the press meet. So this independency of judiciary, you can only see when you appoint the judges in a very transparent way. You appoint the judges from various walks of life. Today, if you see, 99% are male-dominated judges. Entirely, there is you don't find very, very less percentage of when 5% is not there, the women judges, and there are no judges from SC, ST, minorities in across this country. The majority of the people, SC, ST, OBC, minorities is the population. They are not being appointed. How could we address the people real issues? We don't have today a tribal judge in the Supreme Court. We don't have a today scheduled caste judge in the Supreme Court. And these courts today, these Supreme Court judges today, they are talking against the reservations. When in one way they say that we cannot interfere in government policies, but when it comes to the reservations, Supreme Court fixed the slab. Say that no, the Supreme Court, the state cannot cross the reservation. How could this possible? Because you don't find the judges from the Dalits in the Supreme Court. You find only those who are from the dominant caste. They always think in that perception only. So economically backwardness is not the economical backwardness is also an issue which has to be addressed. I'm not saying that, but the majority of the people, you have to include them. Inclusionary judiciary is not there now today. That
okay, sir.
Until that's
sir. Next question, sir. Why do we need 24 hours to produce an accused to the nearest magistrate? There is a boom in transport, communication, and infrastructure since 1950, but still we retain 24 hours, which enables investigating authorities to engage in custodial crimes, even leading to death of the accused.
Now, basically, this provision has come into existence, though it was a very old one. The perception, that the understanding is that if anybody is beyond 24 in the police custody, there is a threat to his life. There is a danger to the life, anybody. So that is how it has come. Now, accused is now being produced before, even in spite of producing accused before the magistrate 24 hours, we are seeing number of lockup deaths, custodial tortures. So then you imagine if he is not produced and just sent on a video conference, there would be a alarmingly increasing of tortures and custodial deaths. It's a right of an accused. It's a rights of an accused. That is seriously. If it is not there, you cannot check the police excesses.
Yes, sir. The question is like, why not shorten that time? Like, why to have 24 hours? Why not shorten that time
Yeah.
period?
The provision is that even before the 24 hours they have to produce. The maximum period is 24 hours. Earliest they have to produce before the court. The accused arrested, the earliest point is they can be produced, but maximum time is 24 hours. They
Okay.
cannot take maximum time. But the police are misusing in that. Even if you are arrested today, they keep you off record for 4 days. Then from there they count it 24 hours. The law is very clear that if I arrested at this moment, if they complete investigation within an hour, they have to produce me before the magistrate. But this is also being misused.
Okay, sir. Sir, last question for that session, sir. Sir, we have no specific law for necrophilia and lynching. What is your say in this area?
In this area, we have to get legislations on these areas. A very serious, these are offenses of culpable homicide, and a special act should be enacted on lynching and honor killings. Special acts are required, like a CST, Prevention of Atrocities Act. These are based on a particular ism is being done. So it needs a special acts and special provisions and special monetary cells and special investigation drives is needed, and there must be all India monitoring level is required. So therefore, new acts to be enacted in this.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your detailed presentation of the criminal justice system in India, and also patiently answering several questions, sir. Almost all the questions. Now I request Dr. Gali Vinod Kumar, sir, Head Department of Law, Osmania University, and coordinator of the workshop, to propose vote of thanks to the esteemed speaker.
Thank you, Irfan, for giving this opportunity. First of all, I thank my beloved friend, Dr. Raghunath Anna, who accepted within short time because of his out of his busy schedule. Because of love and affection, he accepted my request. So I thank you, Anna, very much for your excellent presentation. Very, very, very interesting, very realistic presentation. You made it. Especially, you have given the voice for voiceless. So that is very required in the present scenario. Most of the advocates are, they are always thinking about their bellies, but it is also very important. But at least they have to see the bellies of the victims in the society. That is the primary duty of an advocate. So you are doing justice to the victims. Then practically, I'm seeing, everybody is looking your, services. I thank on behalf of the all the participants in the Department of Law, Osmania University Academic, because it is a need of the hour. Because a practical lawyer can, give a practicality of the what really happening in this judicial system, particularly in the administration of justice, criminal justice system. So we are, illustrated a lot practical examples which are very need of the hour to understand the situation, what happening in India, Indian present judicial system and administration of justice. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for coming and giving your time, valuable time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right, right.